Bad Wolf walks through the woods with Little Red Riding Hood, and she tells him where she is going. The cat disguised itself as Neo, like the wolf disguises itself as the grandmother. It tried to take Ruby too, like the wolf eating Little Red Riding Hood. Instead of eating Neo, he made her eat him.
Ruby wakes to the sound of Penny calling her name. The next two shots are a conch shell and then a starfish. The beach is littered with them. In Hinduism, blowing into the conch shell purifies evil effects in the surrounding environment. The sound it makes symbolizes the first sound of creation. In Islam, it symbolizes the voice of the divine realm. The starfish symbolizes infinite divine love. Another of its characteristics is guidance. The spirit animal teaches you to cure yourself and fill the void with something better. Ancient Rome used it to symbolize Venus, the goddess of love and emotions. When it appears in a dream, it means better days ahead. A star appears again on the jar overlapping the doll that turns into Penny's sword, and on a jar on the teapot lady's table, with a doll head that looks like Penny. One jar is blue, and the other has blue charms, symbolizing the blue fairy from Pinocchio. There is also the star on the game board, which resembles a Chinese checkerboard. The floor underneath bears a star too. Little stars appear when Blake and Yang kiss too.
And in the intro,
these plants in the scene where Blake flirts with Yang are the colors of the Bi Pride flag. It also looks like the clasp on Cinder's jacket.
The pattern on the walls at Neo's mansion looked like the clasp too.
The white lilies growing around Blake and Yang symbolize purity, commitment, and rebirth. In the field where the Punderstorm happened, the field is full of red star flowers. Pentas stun star red, also known as the Egyptian starflower, represents deep love and affection between two people. Pentas symbolize peace. The pentagon shape symbolizes love and protection. The red flower could represent Ruby's love. The parfait also has flowers like these too.
The little heart on top looks like Neon Cat's emblem.
Cherries symbolize fertility and immortality. There are also flowers like this in the scene where Ruby meets Little sleeping on the conch shell, and they are present till they cross the bridge. The walls in the princess game room resemble these flowers too. The paper flowers are red too. The starfish and the flowers are six-pointed stars. Hexagrams protect against evil, symbolize opposites, and mean as above, so below. The Hindu yantra represents yin and yang.
The symbol in the yantra is a sat cone, a six-pointed star.
The Star of David reflects the sixth day of creation. The stars appeared in the 6th episode. The pattern on the fountain at the action also resembles the yantra. There are also two stars in the sky. One rotates around the other, which could symbolize its devotion. They fell off the Bifrost, so these lights could symbolize the stars between realms. The herbalist emblem looks like Jean's, but also like a star and crescent moon, which is a symbol of Islam and dates back to ancient Greece. Sometimes the star represents the morning star Venus, the planet of love. In numerology, it's the ruling planet of the number 6. Yang and Blake confess their love to each other on the 6th episode. Ruby's weapon is a crescent rose, and the star symbolism refers to Penny, whose fairy tale origin began with a wish on a star. When Jean and Pierre's emblems are placed together, they resemble this too. Or if you put Jean and Weiss's emblems together,
it also looks like what's left of Remnant's moon.
It also just looks like Pierre's emblem.
In the herbalist's room where Ruby sees a vision of her younger self, there are crosses on the pillows, like the ones that used to hold up her cloak. Alyx also has little crosses and dots on her blue skirt that could represent stars. Jean sits on the beach with the starfish and conch shells. As the rest of the night, the starfish and conch shells disappear around him, symbolizing his better days are behind him. The loss of love and inability to heal himself. He sees 2 shooting stars. Wishing on shooting stars originated in ancient Egypt. The astronomer Ptolemy said stars were a sign that the gods were listening to our wishes. Ruby literally became the star from Penny's song Friend. The song also showed what Jean would do for years. I searched the sky and hoped to find a star who'd send a light to me, the one thing that I need. Just one kind soul with a heart of gold.
There are stars or snowflakes on the wallpaper. There's so much blue in John's house. Even the cheese is blue.
Paper cranes symbolize honor, good fortune, loyalty, and longevity. Anyone who folds 1,000 is granted a wish. Paper stars are a gift of love and good luck. When one is made, a falling star is saved. They are also known as chrysanthemums of the heart. Giving 100 to someone means love and admiration. Chrysanthemums symbolize fall. White chrysanthemums symbolize death. The paper star that speaks their mind serves tea and has a branch pattern. These lights they burst into when they fell looked like the embers Pierre scattered into. Thus kindly I scatter. The paper star named Ruby has red specks like the one around Ruby in the intro. That were the lights they fell through. There are also the red speckles of rubies in the Jabberwalker's acre. Paper lanterns protect against evil. Koi fish are kept in Japanese gardens to ensure the success of those who visit. They symbolize strength, courage, patience, and success through perseverance. They can grow large due to their long life and symbolize good luck. The word koi also means affection and love. The rock garden the pond is in is a Zen garden that creates tranquility, calmness, and peace. The morning star, also called the North Star, is mistakenly known as the brightest star in the sky. Its name is Polaris. It helps travelers find their way and lead them down destiny's path. It is part of the constellation called Ursa Minor, or Little Bear, and the constellation Ursa Major, which means larger or greater bear. Ursa are a kind of Grimm with bear-like features. They are the first Grimm that Yang Goldilocks fought in the series. Sailors used the North Star to navigate the oceans. Perhaps their way home is not through the tree, but on the water. The bridge from Volume 8 and the dirt road in the Ever After are yellow, like the Yellow Brick Road. They are literally not in Kansas anymore. Dorothy uses the road to find her way home. It was Ptolemy who first charted the North Star, the same astronomer who began the myth of wishing on a star. He lived in Egypt, known for its pyramids. Jean said he had a good feeling about an acre with pyramids. If you take a pentacle and fold it in on itself, you create a pentagonal pyramid. If you take one of the 6-pointed stars, you create a hexagonal pyramid. Pyramids hold the dead, like Penny, or Summer Rose, or Pyrrha, the characters that represent stars and flowers. Pyrrha's name sounds phonetically the same as the beginning of the word pyramid. The stars have literally been leading them to the tree this whole time. Little may ascend into the Blue Fairy to help Ruby, or Tinkerbell, who drinks the poison to save Peter Pan. Ruby just wants to save people. She may ascend into the Big Bad Wolf in order to be strong enough to do so. There are many glowing mushrooms in the acre where the herbalist drugs them. Magic mushrooms are associated with ego death, the complete loss of subjective self-identity, something Ruby is struggling with now. The lotus flower symbolizes rising from a dark place into beauty and rebirth. Water lilies symbolize resurrection, like ascension, closing at night and opening in the morning, like a spiritual rebirth. Interesting that this would be their destination after Herb tried to help them ascend. The name Wren means lotus. Wren's emblem looks like a pink lotus. The teapot lady on the lotus flower had pink flowers incorporated on her design. She also had pink eyes. The cat sits are stuck at a crossroad. In folklore, crossroads represent a place between worlds where spirits can be contacted. It can mean being uncomfortable and indecision, and where your path in life will change forever. It's believed demons or the devil may be summoned at crossroads to make a deal. At the beginning of the series, Blake literally burned a bridge by breaking the link or breaking the chain that bound her and Adam together. Bridges represent transition, unity, and trust. They are a liminal space meant to be crossed to a destination. In religious imagery, bridges in the clouds represented a connection to God and passing to the afterlife, which is obscured by fog or clouds. Clocks also represent death, as they tick towards your death. If a pendulum slows to a stop, it symbolizes death as well. Storms symbolize despair, dread, and uncertainty. Ruby had just learned what had happened to the relics, and her sadness had been making it rain. As she kept getting overwhelmed with information, the storm kept getting closer, and she finally snapped. Mountains symbolize eternity and durability, and they lived happily ever after, as a promise of eternity, and the ever afters where Blake and Yang confessed their love. Mountains also represent stillness. The storm ended and everything was still when they finally came together. The platforms on the bridge that lead from Atlas to Vacuo are likened to the ones from the Punderstorm. The acres are like platforms connected by bridges too, and the platforms from the finale resemble the one that Blake and Yang met on. In Ruby's vision, Penny is held down by chains resembling the strings on a marionette. The ends of these chains are Gamble Shroud. Weiss's emblem hovers over her head. The clouds are like the ones in the Punderstorm, and there is a platform with something hidden behind her. This could symbolize Ruby being unable to process her grief because of her friends pushing her forward. The reflections they see represent mirrors. Mirrors can symbolize the threshold between the conscious and unconscious mind, half of this world and half of another. In the ancient East, they symbolize water or the enlightened psyche. The water in the Punderstorm is purple, blue, and pink, like the cat. Mirrors are integral in Snow White, Beauty and the Beast, the Snow Queen, and Alice Through the Looking Glass. The tree could represent the world tree, which holds up the heavens, like the god Atlas. It connects the heavens, terrestrial world, and the underworld through its roots. A bird sits atop the world tree. The wings and the color blue may be symbolizing a character we'll be introduced to soon. A snake or dragon lies beneath its roots that represents the underworld. 4 stags also eat from its branches. Juniper and the Jabberwalker have antlers and horns like the Brothers Grimm. The way the Jabberwalker moves when it opens its mouth is like the god of darkness. Rabbits symbolize luck and creativity, and also fertility, like spring. The lights at the market are made up of hexagons like the acres. There's another clock tree at the market. The design on this door looks a lot like Mistral's emblem, but also looks like a burning leaf. The pattern on the wall in Neo's mansion looks like this too. An axe hangs beside Penny's weapon at the blacksmith. The curtains are red and green. The design on the soldier's axe is similar to the one at the blacksmith. The blacksmith's spine is exposed with a tree root growing up it. The bones in her arms seem to be exposed too. She seems to be designing Herb's new body. Could she be the lively carpenter after they ascended? Perhaps they are the one that feeds the tree, like a blacksmith feeds a forge. On the side of their hammer is a rose emblem. The pattern on the axe looks like Herb's mats. The teapot lady has a cherry blossom design, which matches this volume because it's a spring flower. It symbolizes a time of renewal and optimism. On her table she has mostly dinnerware and other household items. She represents Mrs. Potts. Some of the objects are broken like Chip. There are 2 teddy bears and a doll head that makes it 3 toys, like Goldilocks and the 3 bears. One of them is missing their right arm like Yang. One of the jars has a little blue bow like Belle. While they're eating the parfait on the teapot lady's table, behind them are wilting roses, like the wilting rose in Beauty and the Beast. Then the camera pans directly to the Beast. There are many giant apples in this scene, and we see them in the first shot of Juniper, and the first shot of the Rusted Night. The forbidden fruit is typically depicted as an apple. Jean picked the clock from a tree and lost a big chunk of his life, giving new meaning to the tree of life. Adam was the one who ate the apple. Adam is the name of the beast. He even looks like him with his hair pulled back.
He shares fairy tale traits with Weiss, like having 7 sisters like the 7 dwarfs. The Rusted Knight drinks the poison. Snow White eats a poison apple. The forbidden fruit is often depicted as an apple. Jean refuses to go to the tree. Adam is told not to eat from the tree of life. Ruby also shares fairy tale elements with her nemesis Cinder. She has a little mouse friend like Cinderella.
Ruby gave her rose away to the teapot lady. The beast could not become human again as something happened to the enchanted rose. Neo's one eye is pink like the teapot lady, and she is the Mad Hatter who has a tea party. Like a demented bee, our guest scene. Neo throws a tea party for Ruby. The flowers on her cup are forget-me-nots. Another name for the flower is Myosotis, which is Greek for mouse deer. They represent fidelity and true love, and the promise to keep someone in your thoughts. It sounded like Little was going to say, "But you're my home." Ruby and Penny are like Romeo and Juliet. Penny chooses to die when she believes Ruby is dead, and when Penny is dead, Ruby chooses to die too. Romeo drinks poison, and Juliet stabs herself. The poison Jean drank must have been the same as what Neo served to Ruby. The reason he did not ascend was because he hadn't chosen to. The Queen accused the Hatter of killing time. Ever since the Mad Hatter had a falling out with time, it had always been 6 o'clock. Neo had a falling out with Cinder, who runs out of time when the clock strikes 12, the opposite end of the clock from 6. Before being transported to the Ever After, a land of rebirth, Cinder tells Ruby that she should never have been born. Could the Ever After fade away when the clock strikes 12? They are no longer late since they have run out of time. The clock on the tree looks like an eye, like Salem's emblem, which resembles an eye on a clock face. Salem and Jean were both alone for so long. Salem eventually threw herself into the pool of Grimm to die, but she experienced a kind of rebirth instead. Perhaps Jean will throw himself into the fires of the forge to ascend. Jean, seeing Ascension as death, calls back to when Pierre almost gave her body away to Amber. This is personal to him. His journey in the Ever After began with him trying to retrieve a scythe, a symbol of death. The choice of the word erase is interesting too, because at the heart of it, they are merely fairy tale characters, no more than words written on a page that can easily be erased. Jean hears screams of agony and terror as he falls, that Ruby did not. The bridge had disappeared at this point, so whatever is frightening them is happening in the Ever After, or in his head. At age 13, Joan of Arc began hearing voices and seeing visions sent by God, or so she believed. Jean began his journey as the Rusted Knight, like Joan of Arc began her journey as the patron saint after hearing voices. Jean saw a crescent rose falling, and it was the only thing surrounded by flames. Joan of Arc was burned at the stake. The way the warrior mice restrained Blake and Weiss resembled being tied to the stake. Mice are the animal companions of Cinderella, Cinder's fairy tale counterpart. Cinder's semblance is Scorching Caress. The blacksmith appears to help those who return to the tree ascend by using the fire from the forge. There are pumpkins in the time tree like Cinderella's carriage, whose spell will be broken at midnight. Jean represents the rabbit who is running late from Alice in Wonderland. Cinder and Jean's backstories are interconnected by the Fall Maiden still. Autumn leaves decorated the clock. The broken clock calls back to the broken clock tower and beacon where Pierre and Cinder fought. When Jean pulled the clock from the tree, it had been close to striking 12. When he broke it, it was stuck just before 12, and the minute hand was just past 6.
The marionette is made of jade. Jade is the jewel of the heaven and protector of living and dead. Penny was the protector of Mantle. Jade symbolizes gentleness, serenity, harmony, and balance. It is the birthstone of Pisces. It's symbolized by 2 fish. They swim in opposite directions. This represents its attention to fantasy and reality, something they're all struggling with in the Ever After. The fish also represent yin and yang. The Jade Marionette also wears a crown. They have a lot of choices to make this volume.
Everything in the Princess Acre is red and gold, which are Pierre's colors.
I may be reading too far into it, but the shape on the wall looks like the end of an arrow.
Autumn leaves are featured heavily in this volume like they were in Volume 3. The stars try to reach out to the tree through the autumn leaves. An autumn leaf fell by Pierre when she was struggling with the question of death and rebirth. Pierre was the first to grapple with choice, and she also wore a crown. The relic of choice is a crown with diamonds.
Diamonds are featured heavily in this volume. The diamond-studded rabbit, the prince's crown, the pattern on the cat's body, the blue diamond mark between its eyes, like the diamond on the relic. Salem also has a diamond between her eyes. It could symbolize the third eye since her emblem is also an eye. Salem's eyes hollow out like the blacksmith's and the god of darkness. Salem has the same diamonds hanging from her hair as Weiss. The Ever After, so intent on forcing its inhabitants to make decisions leading them towards ascension, could be the relic of choice. Now I know I'm worthy of you. Perhaps the relic is the Ever After, who has been watching them this entire time to see if they are worthy of its powers. There are hearts with crowns in the windows, representing the Queen of Hearts, or the choice to choose loved ones over one's goals. There is a similar design on the soldiers' drums, which look like the relic of choice. The soldiers' designs also resemble Salem Tower's banners. Her banners also look like Jean's emblem. And there are many towers on the prince's castle. The landscape is divided into diamonds, resembling a chessboard like the one the land was divided into in Alice Through the Looking Glass. When Alice gets to the other side of the board, she meets the White Queen and becomes the queen herself. Perhaps Ruby will ascend in a way, into a more complete version of herself, going back to Chinese checkers and stars. In China, the elements are fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. Glinda's semblance glyph has a hexagram in the center. Her emblem is a crown. When you look at the meaning of the pentagram, the elements are fire, air, water, earth, and spirit. The first four are tangible like the seasons the maidens represent. Spirit is like Ruby's silver eyes, like the spirit, the god of light. The maidens unlock the vaults to the relics. Ruby is making a lot of choices. Weiss also has diamond-shaped earrings and jewels in her hairpiece. Aside from standing up to the herbalist, she has not made any big choices this season. She has been the most grounded in reality. There are red diamonds on the staff when Yang must make a choice about love. The black stripes on yellow also look like a bee. This part resembles her scarf. Ruby also seems to be getting more sour and pessimistic, like Alyx. Yang tells her not to think like Ironwood, whose fairytale character is the Tin Man with no heart. The fall leaves are likened to the ones in one of Pierre's final scenes, where she had to choose whether or not to become a maiden and sacrifice herself, giving up what made her herself, like Ascension, or Ruby giving away the items that connected her to other people. Pierre sends Jean away from the clock tower to protect him. Perhaps the tree is keeping them away to protect them as well. The entrance to the Red Prince's castle is shaped like Jean's helmet, and it looks like it has a diamond like the relic. The blue butterfly following them around could be the cat in disguise. When you flip the Red Prince's chair upside down, it looks like Penny's hair. It also looks like Lionheart's emblem. The stretchers that the game pieces are taken away on look like an hourglass, which is relevant to the clock tree. And the floating game board resembles the floating city of Atlas. Mantle was under Atlas, and the stairs in the game room go farther down than the level they are playing the game on. Perhaps a vault is down there. The city was also ruled by a tyrannical man who killed others without a second thought, like the prince did with his subjects. Like the prince, Ironwood was playing a game of chess with Salem. Ironwood also changed after Salem checkmated him in Beacon, and again in Atlas. Just like the Red King ascended into the Red Prince when he was beat by Alyx, he became fixated on winning the game and became worse. The tree hovering above the paper town also resembles Atlas hovering over Mantle, which had weak defenses, fragile like paper and needing a hero. The dam breaking and flooding the town calls back on Atlas and Mantle flooding too. Other characters call in real-world remnant characters too. The Curious Cat is like Roman, whose fairy tale counterpart from Pinocchio the Fox had a cat companion who helped him trick Pinocchio. Neo became the cat. Roman's emblem also looks like the smiling cat. The Jinxy Peddler is like the old man who runs every shop in Beacon, most notably the dust shop. In the acre that's in ruins, there are trees that look like Ruby's scythe, and gears on the ground likened to the ones in Beacon Tower. The Jabberwalker picks one up and says fix. Birds that resemble the giant grim at the top of Beacon Tower fly away from their perch at the top of the tallest scythe when Neo falls. The lightning is green like Penny's lasers, and there's many gems in the ground that look like rubies. It's raining here like it does when Ruby doesn't suppress her feelings. The cat also chases the yellow butterfly that seems to be watching one like the blue one that the cat might be. When the cat pounces on the butterfly, it scatters into hundreds, thus kindly I scatter. Could the acres represent the past, present, and future maidens? Autumn leaves are so prominent in this volume because the relic of choice is in the vault unlocked by the Fall Maiden. They literally fell onto the Fall Island. If this is the island of the relic of choice, then all the blue fairy symbolism could be pointing to the fairy godmother from Cinderella, who is the current Fall Maiden. Cinderella also has little mice friends. The herbalist's eyes also resemble the jewels on the relic of choice. Running out of time is a factor in Cinderella's story too. The trees in the first acre were green. They're red in the second. The Red Prince hates green. The Queen of Hearts had the white roses painted red. The red trees represent that. The sky is also green. The soldiers that were beheaded had white details on their armor. The ones who did the beheading had gold. There are also white flowers as soon as they exit the castle.
The white flowers on the chandelier represent Summer Rose, who Ruby's been trying to be this whole time instead of herself. I don't want to be me anymore.
The chess pieces strewn across the land have hearts engraved into them. The chair he sits on does too. Some look like question marks, some like sword hilts or Jean's emblem, other like Yang's emblem or lightning. The characters in the Red Prince's realm look like game pieces or toys, to fit with the theme of chess. When Pinocchio goes to Toyland with Candlewick, he wakes up on the 5th month with donkey ears. Soon he is fully transformed. These are the birds that the Queen of Hearts and Alice played croquet with. Little is a dormouse who keeps falling asleep. Neo is the Mad Hatter. Jean is the rabbit running late. The Rested Knight is the White Queen's White Knight. The Red King is the Red Queen that helps Alice find her way. The Red Prince is the Queen of Hearts. The soldiers are the playing cards who paint the roses red. The herbalist is the caterpillar. The curious cat is the Cheshire cat, and the 2 suns are its eyes. The Jabberwocky poem also mentions slithy toes that live under sundials and feed on cheese. A gnat tells Alice the insects are part bug and part object. The butterflies are bread, and the flies are rocking horses. The exposed bones on the Jabberwalker's back look like 2 wings, or a butterfly. There is also a blue butterfly that appears to be following them. The blue windows on top of the Jinxy Peddler's purple wagon look like cat ears. It also reminds me of Neon Cat's hair, or the blue eyes of the purple and blue curious cat. The glitter when it opens up is diamond-shaped like the cat's spots too. The same shape is on the sword hilts of the soldiers, and upside down in their chest plates.
And on the window on the mansion, which looks like an eye.
Since Jean represents the White Knight, Weiss could be the White Queen. It could also be Summer Rose, who wears a white cloak. Ruby also plays with the white pieces in the game. When Alice meets the Red Queen, she becomes a white pawn, like Yang, Blake, and Weiss. Alyx represents Alice, and Lewis represents Lewis Carroll, the author of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and Through the Looking Glass. Lewis appears to be carrying a book with him. They're literally in the sequel, like Weiss said. In the Jabberwocky poem in Alice Through the Looking Glass, a son takes his sword and searches for a beast, decapitating it. On the Teapot Lady's table, along with the jar representing the Blue Fairy, there are 2 bears and a doll head.
When Ruby is fighting the Jabberwocker that Neo created, she sees a vision of Penny.
The starfish are red and green. The sky in the Red Prince's kingdom is green. Red and green are Ruby and Penny's colors. Little builds their house out of green leaves and orange berries, the color from Penny's design.
They are also Oscar's colors. Oscar's eyes also resemble the color of the leaves.
There are many flower imprints on the ground. The sorceress of the Eternal Garden of Summer sinks the roses in her garden beneath the earth so Gerda would forget about her search for her friend Kai, who was taken by the Snow Queen. She sees a rose on the sorcerer's hat and remembers. Her tears raise a rose bush above the ground, and they tell her that they did not see Kai there buried with the dead. There is a rose emblem on the blacksmith's hammer. Ruby's sadness triggers rain in the ever after. Rain makes flowers grow. Flowers growing from the ground is a kind of ascension, and anyone waiting to ascend would be buried in the ground. Alice speaks to the flowers, and they tell her someone else is in the garden. It turns out to be the Red Queen, who had grown from 3 inches high to a head taller than herself. The peddler wanted Alyx's saddest and happiest memory. Blake looks at Yang when she says this. Blake's saddest and happiest memories are with Yang. It would be like giving up their history. He wants knowing what it is to feel loved from Yang, which would mean giving up her relationship with Blake. He wants enough hope to fill this jar from Ruby. Little had enough hope to fill the jar.
When Little dies, so does Ruby's hope.
The blacksmith offers to take Ruby's burden from her, and Ruby sees an axe that reminds her of her mother. Then she gives away her emblem, which holds a mother's promise. She gives away Penny's sword, too. The cat is watching them always, and trying to sever their relationships with each other, to get them primed for ascension. Alyx's happiest and saddest memories may have been of Lewis. Alyx's emblem is a rabbit. Could they have ascended? In Japan, they see a rabbit on the moon instead of a man. In the script, the 2 suns were called moons.
There's a door inside the R in Ruby. The hole in the wall looks like the keyhole that Alice looked through. Inside is the theme song for this volume. A dream happens inside your mind. This place could be Ruby's subconscious personified.
The cat says Alyx said that she would take him through the door to Remnant. Like the door to a vault, the World Tree and Alice are both tasked with holding up the heavens. Mirrors will shatter, crushed by the weight of the world.
The way Neo turns to diamonds and leaves is a lot like Ruby's petal burst. The paintings on the wall begin to fade once Neo loses her purpose. Ruby was Little's purpose too.